But hello. Hey everyone, welcome back to Jaraci Cup 6. Continuing coverage now of the upper bracket, we're moving into the semifinals. And this one is going to be pretty exciting between descara and AGameAnx, the age-old rivalry. This is Semifinals A, of course, from Jaraci Cup 6. And let's go over the pick bans while the game loads up here. Descara picking Galzian for this series. That's quite interesting, I'd say. Obviously, we know he's picked Galzian quite a bit as like, how'd you say, almost like, he wants to like practice it against people who are like newer that he feels pretty confident he's going to beat. But no, he's picking it into AGameAnx, who's, you know, the best of the best. So this is pretty hyped to see. And AGame getting picked Soban, no surprise there. He wants to avoid the mirror matchup if he can. He bans Canyon, descara bans the Shallows, and picks Boneyard. AGame picking Tight End Passage, GT Alt. descara picking Firebase, and AGame picking KT Alt. So these are all maps that the players are pretty happy with, pretty comfortable on, with the one exception, I'd say, of Tight End Passage. That's a little bit odd to see, because AGame really does not like that map. So it's fun to see that he picks it anyway. Especially after banning Canyon Alt, which is a map that I know he hasn't been like the most happy with before, but he does actually like playing on it, so it's kind of interesting to see that. But the first map is going to be the Boneyard. This is descara's pick, and it looks like he's just going to do ref mode first. This is kind of, no. I take it back. Oh, I'm playing Company of Heroes apparently, so let me change the category. Good catch. Deserts of Karak, there we go. Thank you. But yeah, so this is actually not going to be a refinery mode first. It's going to be a Soul Chip Fab instead, and I believe he did, oh shoot, maybe I should have been paying attention here. I believe he did Sandskimmer Fab before building any salvagers, but he may not have. I don't know. Maybe if someone else was paying attention while I was reading the pick ban document, they can tell me, but that's fine, it won't be too important. He is moving across the field now, though. This is what you would expect to see. Actually, this PC normally is like a little bit further out, and you can see no sand skimmers being produced either. He just goes straight to assault chips, and that's interesting to see for sure. Got a little bit of a wall of ALMs being set up here by AGame. Of course, these are free in the patch, so you know you might as well. He's just kind of trying to set up a bit of a defense before his opponent gets there. And a bit of damage being taken on his probe, not much. He'll fly over here, check out the carrier, and he will indeed see the assault ship module, which is raised, as you can tell. So AGame gonna know what the tech is for his opponent, and that's actually a pretty big advantage. And he techs straight into railguns, not interested in dying to this, not at all. Brings the base sprinter up over here to the second base. So, you know, this is a kind of a classic scenario in DOK. One player is going for economy, one player is going for aggression. So you get the idea that the red player, descara here, he needs to actually get AGame to be off of the second base to make this worth it. Either that or kill all the salvagers, but that's unlikely against a player of AGame's caliber for him to actually get run over like that. Most players will not find themselves being actually, or most top tier players anyway, will not find themselves actually taking salvager losses to something like this. But this is exactly what descara wants to get done. He pulls his carry back, you see that? And he makes his opponent go back onto one base. That's good enough for him if he can keep that pressure up. Probe does go down, it's quite nice for descara. Of course, the thing about that probe going down is that now maybe we could actually see rail tech come out, but it's kind of unlikely, we don't usually see that. But you could convert this into like an all-in kind of, but it's not really, doesn't have a particularly high win rate, I don't think. You can see the targeting jammers getting cleared out here. But note like how much time that buys AGame, where these assault chips have to sit there and shoot at that. Oh hey, AGame is on. Excellent. Oh, pretty good targeting jammer there. Catches actually both of them. This PC in a bit of an awkward spot, isn't it? It's driving forward maybe to drop an assault chip close, but... oh shoot, the carrier is stuck. That's pretty unfortunate. But one assault chip getting picked off over here. No mag excel, mind you. That's kind of the normal thing because it's a very expensive tech. But actually one railgun dies there as well. This PC, I feel a little bit dangerously low, but it's probably going to get away with this unpunished. So far they've traded 1 for 1. If you check the units lost tab. Oh yeah, the probe, right. How could I forget? So, Sawan versus Galzian. And this is AGame versus descara. I feel like A-Game is doing a pretty decent hold here. Because again, like, his opponent is long distance mining. But so is A-Game. And if this rush gets held off, then A-Game is going to pop up onto 2 base faster. So I feel like he's doing just fine. Salvager's starting to get hit now. That's probably a little bit scary, but if they don't die here, well, one of them's going to go down. But you see how many assault ships descara is losing doing this? For only 1 salvager and 1 railgun, just about. And you can see all of a sudden that units lost tab not really agreeing with descara anymore. And note again, A-Game is on 2 base already, like once he moves his carry back here, because, you know, he doesn't need to tech ref mode or anything. For descara, that's only just on the way. So it was a valiant attempt, but I think A-Game has pretty much done everything he needed to get done here. And I believe that he is going to be ahead in this position. Second PC is on the way for descara though, so you never know. The Galazine, like, pop back into eco can be quite strong, but we even have immediately some counter pressure being applied here from A-Game. This is beautiful to see as well. He basically just is trying to, like, do nothing. Actually, well, these units are pretty low, I guess. He'll scout for the 3rd base at least. I eat my words. One thing that's interesting though, you can see a second base runner being produced here. Pretty much immediately. And then Railgun Fab coming out for descara this time. It's not going to be air. And I think air is kind of the normal thing to see. But it's not going to be air this time. Now see, this is why I was saying it was cool what A-Game was doing, bringing those LAVs across. As descara checks for this base, he's going to see it. Knows his opponent is on 2 before him. Not really much that he can do about it though. Just going to back away here. But you can see descara didn't build any assault ships on the back end. So actually, A-Game has got a little bit of a window where those LAVs can maybe actually kill a couple of salvagers here, but he's choosing not to take it. That's going to be fine. And if I was A-Game, I guess the thing that I'd be worried about now was air from descara. Descara, of course, quite a prolific air player just in general, but it's a very common follow-up to this kind of aggression, because obviously assault ship tech unlocks air on its own, and then on top of that, if your opponent goes railguns, which you already knew that A-Game did, air is generally a very good counter to stopping those railguns from moving out across the field. But it looks like descara, because he knows that his opponent is not going to move across the field because he might have air, he's going to choose not to tech it and instead kind of like play on his opponent's respect in a sense, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens here, though. He seems to still be kind of playing with that idea of bringing this PC to the front line, but he's going to fall back now and just go up onto 3 base. That's a safer play, I would say. He denies the scouting, too, so A-Game never saw this PC. But he probably suspects about as much. But now, A-Game, it looks like, is moving out across the field, actually. So maybe he kind of suspects that if he hasn't seen air at this point, it's not coming. It's a little bit risky because there could be air, actually, still, but he seems to believe it's not going to be coming. And he's correct, mind you. But that's easy for us to say. But that means it's going to be a bit of a 2-base play, which is pretty fun, because I really enjoy watching these, rather than just kind of the standard thing to do would be, well, okay, let's just go up onto 3 base ourselves and then play for the late game. This is quite a lot of LAVs, quite a lot of railguns. Thing is, descara is building heavy rails, right? But once MagXL finishes, and even before it does with this number, he's not really going to be able to contest the railguns, and so... like with rails of his own, that is. So what he needs to do is like get really good positioning with those assault ships. It's difficult to do, especially on this map. This is a big void here where the armored units just will never be able to be. Bit of a backstab coming over here for descara as well. You'll love to see it. Note the anti-air turret posts, by the way. I think that's why A-Game built that second base runner, was to get some anti-air in a pinch if he needed it. But he does set down those turret posts before he leaves, so it looks like he just wants to be a little bit safe that way. And note that the 2 base runners are ready to set down turret posts if they need them. So that's kind of what they're doing here. They're potential anti-air if he needs it. But seeing these rails, he's going to be pretty confident, because, you know, there is no anti-air. And indeed, these LAVs getting a massive angle on them. This is super good. And at this point, I don't know what descara really does from here. I mean, this is a great idea with this backstab, but again, even here, he's being like he's got it covered, you know. Oh, Pretty good jetpacks there. Managed like to damage every single one of these LAVs here. But if he just gets vision of this carry, he can end the game right here if he wants to. Yep, and Descara knows that he's gonna choose to surrender, so that's game 1 going to A game. In a pretty safe fashion, I've got to say. Like, it just felt like he kind of had everything covered from the beginning. That push from Descara, the early game pressure, it really didn't get much done. And yeah, like, he was just very confident, even though there could have been air coming out. He didn't tech anti-air, he just pushed in and won the game. So that was very nicely done by A-Game. I'd say that was a very clean game. Well done! As I go ahead and load up game 2. Getting me on tight end passage. Tight end passage, you know, it's kind of an interesting map here. I've been thinking recently about how to like make a layout out of this, because we're not really huge fans of like just the way that it is, how the dunes are so far apart from each other. It makes it very hard for anything to work other than railguns on this map, which is a little bit boring to watch every game, just being rails, right? And also, you know, we feel like it's just so prone to aggro because of like the setup of the bases here. So this is not a map that I would have expected A-Game to pick. So as a result, I'm wondering if maybe he's got something planned here, or if perhaps he just feels like he's gonna have an advantage, or maybe he just wants to mix it up. I don't know. We'll have to see though. His opponent gonna be mixing it up for sure though this time, as he is going into ref mode. Rails, that's your plan? Alright, well, like I said, it seems to be a railgun map. It's just the positioning on all these dunes, you know. VFab coming out after SC started, so this is gonna be a pretty classic SC first build from A-Game. And there's the probe, so it's not gonna be anything funky with like a retire or whatever. It's a little bit more tricky to figure out where like the targeting jammer could go on this map, but this is a decent position for it. Look, even like the walls on this map are quite weird. It's like, it's some line here, I don't know. I think it's the same line across like the whole map or something, but... Plans to abuse the high ground. I feel like Coalition Savon can pressure mid-game really well anyway, so I thought this map would be guaranteed win. Okay, okay. So you mean this high ground here, right? I'm just kind of trying to abuse this one to the victory. Unless of course you've gotten the other spawn, and then I imagine you mean like this one or maybe this one. So I guess that means it's probably going to be another 2-base play then. Because I wouldn't be surprised actually if the carrier is planning on moving out this time. And I mean, in that sense, I really agree actually, like, because the Coalition Savon carrier can like move out across the field with the railguns, it makes that kind of play really, really strong. Although of course you gotta worry with Savon because their carrier is very squishy, but like, I don't know, I feel like this is definitely the kind of map where the Galzian player has got more to do in that sense, because they have to actually manage to somehow get like a commanding control over the field here. A-Game, by the way, moving out with this probe and sees that this is going to be ref mode first, and that's why he feels confident moving the Space Runner out, but he's actually going to turn around just now, so maybe not as confident as I thought. Support cruiser is done. Actually though, this looks like he's moving up to 3-base here. That's kind of interesting. And then here's RailFab on the queue. Meanwhile, Descara is teching to rails himself as well, so he definitely understands the map that he's playing on. Max Greed. Oh, he cancels RailFab though, does Descara. Now he's gonna flip over onto Assault Ship tech. Actually, I'm not a big fan of this. This could be a mistake for him because Assault Ships on this map are just difficult. He can go to air, and that's gotta be what he does if he's gonna fight like this. But I've gotta say, I'm not really a fan of that. I think he's better off if he sticks with rails here, but we'll see. As that probe is getting killed by A-Game, but he's gonna send out another one. Third targeting jammer, as you can see. Lining the desert with these things. This probe here might get strafed by this base runner again, though. Yeah, but he's on top of his micro, you can see. The probe's vision radius, I believe, was buffed in a recent patch, wasn't it? I might be wrong about that, but I remember that being true. At any rate, it certainly looks bigger than it was in vanilla. But he's gonna fly over here, and he will see a soul chip tech now from his opponent. And now you gotta realize when you're playing this map, then with a soul chip tech here for Descara, that's not gonna be that's not actually gonna be a soul chips coming. It's got to be air, because obviously with A-Game having rail tech, and he's gonna be building rails before too long, I would expect. He's not gonna like take damage from a soul chips hardly ever. I don't know. I mean, he'd have to play pretty badly to like allow that to happen. Speaking of playing badly, not getting any high ground on these LAVs, I actually think he could have stopped that extraction there, but that's okay. It happens. Brings the scoreline to 2-0 though, so that's actually quite nice for Descara. And this base runner here may be denied, although he does have the targeting jammer to play with. This assault chip here, by the way, does force rails to come out in the end, but it's not going to be able to get much done other than that. The thing is, A-Game has got to know that what's really going to happen this game with that assault chip tech is that air is going to be produced. That's got to be, what he's going to be facing against. He's going to get this extraction here, which is nice. But yeah, I'd love to see him commit into some kind of anti-air, whether that be base runners, just to put down the interior turret post, but in that case it's quite important he doesn't lose this one, eh? Whether it be base runners or it be actually like missile ship fab. But of course the tech to that, he's got to go through AV fab already, so I don't think he'll do that. Instead, lots of LAV techs coming out here, and I think that's because he's very committed to like keeping these LAVs, how do you say, he's keeping strikecraft superiority. And what he wants to do is use that strikecraft superiority to protect the railguns, which means that he doesn't have to find himself teching into AVs or anything like that. Should have had 2 base runners by now. Yeah, because like I said, you know that air is going to be the thing that could potentially damage you here. And by the way, we have Afterburner getting teched immediately for Descara as well, which is somewhat rare to see that come out so early. But I think Descara recognizes, well, there's so many LAVs on the field here. Afterburner is really, really good at protecting interceptors from LAVs. They don't really take as much damage from it. Turret post coming out now of the anti-air variety. Over here, just behind that hill, that's a really good position, because obviously they don't need line of sight to fire, so if you keep them sort of tucked away, very, very nice for that turret post. And now you'll see he tries to pressure these assault chips here. Generally, it's quite a tough matchup. When you have assault chips and sand skimmers and the opponent has railguns and sand skimmers, very, very difficult to get anything done with that. Interceptors here kind of dumping their missiles on the wrong target. They hit the LAVs, and they might eat it for that. Ooh, now he doesn't have enough to kill rails in one hit anyway. He loses 2 interceptors really kind of for nothing. And he's not able to break the line either. Note that like all the railguns lived except for that one, I suppose. He's gonna come back in, but that's another dead interceptor. He doesn't get anything for it. And that was a very, very bad trade. All of a sudden, this is looking pretty grim for Descara because, in fact, I'm kind of wondering if maybe he could have just like dove onto the anti-air turret post and killed that right in the beginning. But yeah, this is quite bad. If you look at the units lost tab, that kind of tells the whole story. There's only 2 interceptors left in the hangar, and I don't know. I don't know what he does about these rails from this position. A-Game, by the way, probably gonna get so it's on the way now. I'm so good. I'm so good. And you can see, so he finally got rid of all those railguns, and that's gonna allow him to kill this turret post. Like, it's not worth it, right? Look how much money he had to lose just to like break this position. And the other thing is, A-Game is just going to go right back up there. It's not like he has to leave now. And the longer time goes on, the more and more turret posts are going to get set up here. This is really going to be quite bad for him. In fact, he's not even going to let that one die because he can trade some LAVs for it. I wonder if he could even like throw a targeting jammer here to make his life a little bit easier, but it doesn't seem like he even needs to. He wants to keep this alive if he can, though. Make the mistake. It'd be quite nice. So it looks like he's gonna save it. These assault chips really kind of If they push in here, they're just gonna all die, I think. Which I suppose is what we're about to see. Of course, like I mentioned before, that Sunder ability on the railguns really makes a big difference here. Because once the assault ship gets sundered, it has like 2 armor or something. These LAVs just gonna shred through it. Actually, Descara, by the way, I really don't know about this. He committed really hard into armor upgrades here. He's got armor 3 on those assault ships. Like, I've got to think, like, why does that really help you? Like, I think the assault ships were never what this game was gonna be about. It was gonna be about sand skimmers and air units, and instead, you know, I don't know, like, that much money into assault ships means it's not in the sand skimmers. He's never gonna get that strikecraft superiority, and I don't know, you know, what he's gonna be able to do. So that's quite unfortunate. Oh, hey, look at that. There must have been depth packs used here. You can see by the dust cloud that it creates. Interceptors coming in here. They're finding actually a pretty fine angle against these rails here. You can see the LAVs try to interpose, but with that afterburner, it's really not possible to damage them too much. So I feel like A-Game's straying way too far away from his anti-air. It's annoying because you're gonna push really, really slowly if you're relying on like turrets from the base runner, but you've got to do it because otherwise you're just gonna take losses like this. That's my thoughts anyway. Like, I think that this is a very common mistake for people to make, but like you're already holding this 3rd base off, and your opponent is not gonna get up onto 3 base if you just hold this hill right here. So you have no reason to even push over onto this position. Not until you have like anti-air turret posts ready to support you there as well. Let's just say, by the way, this is a lot of freaking LAVs. 23 LAVs, that's crazy. So it's actually kind of surprising those interceptors didn't die there, but like afterburner's pretty good, I guess. It's better than I thought it would be. Gonna catch this base runner out for sure, so down he goes. Pretty ambitious to go for that artifact, you would say. And you can see battle cruisers being teched here. That's definitely sort of like a game-ending tech here. He wants to finish his opponent off with these BCs, but I actually would have just preferred to see him go into missile batteries. You know, just kind of allow him to like push out across the field easier that way. Home in 40 minutes or so. Well, I assume that this semifinals will probably be done by then, but I'll catch you for the next one, eh? Pro gonna get sniped out there, but you can see Descara, he's trying to go for something on the other side. Like he's trying to find an opening here, but he just can't quite make it happen. But again, A-Game pushing out a little bit too far, I'd say. Only this time he knows that these interceptors have been busy killing a probe and stuff, right? And that's the thing, like, once the interceptors just say, like, ah, we're not getting anything done, let's waste our missiles somewhere else, that's when you can push. So I feel like you kind of need to, like, not do that. But again, it'd be so much easier if there were, like, a couple missile batteries in the field here, just, like, 2 or 3. He could push out like this all day, it wouldn't even matter. You really just gotta think that, like, what can Descara do here? He's actually teched into honor guards. Is he building one? Oh my gosh. He's gonna build an honor guard, actually. Wow. That's pretty interesting. Honor guards, of course, pretty good unit, but they tend to do poorly when there's a lot of rails on the field and you can't contest those rails with rails of your own. But we'll see. The one thing that honor guards are great against is LAVs. And there are a lot of LAVs on the field. The problem is just that, like, even if he gets quite a lot of value out of these, he is really far behind. I mean, let's just make that clear. Like, this is 1 base versus 3, right? So, like, that's just not a good time. That's not a good time in general. And he still doesn't have those skimmer ups, I don't think. He's got rating, but that's it. But I don't know. We'll see what this honor guard can do for him. He's going to make a kind of concentrated push now to try and get his 2nd base back. This interceptor will die if it tries anything here, so I'd really like to see him just sort of dock this one. Oh. Yeah, that's a dead interceptor. Honor guard also getting wreck blocked in a really crucial time here. He wants to not be on the wreck like that. And now he's getting carrier blocked. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, say it ain't so. Okay, he finally gets the orientation right here. I don't believe he's in range though. And there we go. Honor Guard finally starting to get some damage done. You can see though just how crucial it is to not get wreck blocked like that. But actually, wow, it really is hitting for damage here. I guess that's fair because obviously heavy vehicles has just now been teched by A-Game. And it was to get BCs anyway. He hasn't gotten any of the armor upgrades on these rails, so they really kind of get shredded by an Honor Guard like that. Obviously, any source of damage that does AoE, if you don't have armor when you're facing it, you're going to really feel it. This is why you always tech the armor upgrades when you're up against like opponent's siege, right? And A-Game, by the way, teched fighter and gunship. It didn't seem like he was going to build those imminently, but he's going straight into attack bombers here. And so this is quite handy for him, because bombers, of course, are going to be a pretty good counter to cruisers, generally speaking. And if descara gets pushed off like once more, he probably loses the game too, because obviously he's on 4 artifacts here. But as I'm saying it doesn't even really seem to matter, because obviously you can see these LAVs just kind of screaming through the field, kind of claiming everything as their own. And yeah, descara seems to know it. Or maybe his carrier died, I'm honestly not even sure, but he chooses to GG right there. Brutal, you know? Brutal this game too. Just felt like he wasn't ever able to really get anything done with those interceptors. I mean, there was maybe a window for him to make this work, but he definitely misplayed when he first launched them. But I still don't think that was the right tech choice on this map. Because base runners are just able to bring quite a lot of anti-air to the party, and if you're relying on the air units to basically like dismantle your opponent's entire plan, you're really putting a lot of weight on them. So I don't know, that seemed a little bit unfavorable to me, but he did go for it. Does not work. And we'll move into game 3 now. Potentially the last, as A-Game leads by 2. Obviously, this is a matchup that you would assume could go either way, so it's always kind of fun to see who the victor is going to be here. Galzian Territory is going to be the next map. This is A-Game's pick. And of course, you gotta remember the very last map, the Ace match, which, if descara is to win this series, we know we're going to get to, is one that I think is a very good pick for A-Game. It would be Kartoba, which I think he's just very, very comfortable on in general. And so, you know, I think A-Game is, yeah, he's really gonna be having a good time, if this series continues, if he is to lose this match. This map as well, though, I think, I've got to say, is probably pretty good for A-Game, just because I've seen him perform quite well on it pretty consistently. He's got a spawn where... Oh, this kind of high-tier match rarely gets to cruise. Well, actually, in Jaraci patch, I'd say it pretty often does. In vanilla, for sure, though, we pretty rarely got to cruisers, but in Jaraci, I'd say pretty often we were getting to that stage. Unless it's me playing, in which case I'll probably win or lose in the first, like, 3 minutes. Because that's how I play. But descara and A-Game are both players who really enjoy getting to the late game, so... Yeah, not unlikely to me that they'll be reaching cruisers in this game as well. They didn't in Game 1, but Game 1 it really felt like A-Game had the upper hand pretty much the whole time. And if you noticed in that last game, battlecruisers were actually being produced by A-Game, like they were about to pop out at the end of the game there. And I really don't know what he was going to do about that. So... A-Game just trying to kill the scanner here, but it's a little bit difficult. Oh, and this is so... It's got to be annoying for A-Game, because obviously AV Tech just finished, and descara is going to see it now. Descara, of course, he is very much on top of that kind of thing. Like, right as the probe dies, he'll look over, he'll see this. So he knows that his opponent is going to be on AV Fab. And as for him, it's ref mode first again, and he just goes straight into Assault Ship Tech. So... I think this will be a pretty good demonstration, I suppose, of like how to defend against AVs. Because descara, of course, if you didn't know, he's very, very good at defense. That's like what he does. Ever since kind of like the very beginning of the game. If you remember in vanilla, like the Coalition Sledgehammer was like this super strong game plan, where you basically just like built up a bunch of rails and moved out with the carrier and the rails. and you just kind of move to like smash your opponent in with that, right? And in order to make it work, like descara practiced just defending really, really, really hard. And as I understand, this is kind of how he plays StarCraft 2 as well, but so that's definitely sort of been his MO for RTS games for a while now, I suppose. But he's a very defensive player. Like, he's not going to get killed by rushes. That's like his big thing. Which is why... No, I'll talk about that later. So obviously what he needs to do is just basically not allow his opponent to hold him off of 2 base if he can. But at the very least, he can move back onto 1 base and then push back out. But he just has to beat these AVs and like not allow himself to be kind of penned into like 1 base where he can fall behind on economy. That's kind of his big goal right now. You can see armored unit defenses are teching as well. And that's what he wants to do, but he actually wants to have this earlier. So this is a bit of a throw here. The save. Oh, well, that's quite nice of AGame to kind of like save him there. But yeah, now he wants to be backing away. This base runner comes out to like pop the heal. Try and keep that assault chip alive for as long as he can. Maybe he can use that smoke from his... Yeah, he can. Sandskippers, by the way, going to trade out for 1 LAV, but then they're probably going to get caught out by that AV over there and probably die. It's 3-on-3 now in this fight here, but a bit of bad focus fire could really cost descara quite a bit. And now Power 1 going to get teched as well because he feels he needs it to defend. I would definitely agree. But at this point, I would say he needs to move up and conglomerate onto 1 base because right now he's getting killed here. But he's not... Look at this. He's moving forward with this PC. That's quite odd. I've got to say, I actually don't really know why he's doing this. Oh no, he's kind of getting meat grindered, I like to call it, right? Where the units are coming out and dying one at a time. It's really not where he wants to be. Oh no. I said this is going to be a pretty good, like I hyped up descara being like this really defensive player and like this is going to be a really good example of like how to defend against like AV pushes and he's just like dying to this. This is just like absolutely killing him. Oh my gosh. Well, Oval, you wanted to see how cruisers are used by top players, but I'm not sure if we're ever going to get there at this rate. Well, this is how they're definitely not meant to be used, putting a bad rally point on the support cruiser here. As he moves out like halfway across the field and has to turn around, but... Oh no. Oh no. Well, he didn't lose any salvagers. That's really good for him. The reason why this does so much damage, though, is that descara has to play so defensive now. Like, he just has to constantly worry about these AVs, like, running up and just killing him. And so, you know, like, look, he's moving his carrier over here, getting up on a 2 base, but, like, he can't push out with these AVs at all. So, like, his map pressure is basically non-existent. And this time, AGame indeed is going to tech into missile batteries. He's not going to get caught out by air this time. So this is quite rough, you would say. The thing is, actually, you know, AGame is teching into anti-air. Well, no, he really should, because I think descara would go for air. Like, it's somewhat likely. You know what I mean? And like, this thing being here just gives him so much freedom to push out across the map, I suppose. But I'm thinking, like, maybe it would be good for him to go for air instead, but I don't know. It's difficult to do against Galzian, because you know that they're going to win that air fight in, like, even numbers scenarios, but if you're confident you can take it in uneven numbers scenarios, like, you can often win it. At any rate, though, you'll notice what AGame is doing is just trying to, like, keep his presence on the map and push his opponent back onto his 1 base scenario. That's where he wants him to be. And so he's just kind of using the fact that he knows he's got better numbers to just try and, like, push out across the map now. Descara, meanwhile, going to be teching into rails. And that tells me he knows, like, yeah, if I don't deal with these AVs, I could just kind of die when they come back in the second time. But it's worth noting, actually, for the time being, descara is getting up onto 3 base a little bit faster. Make no mistake, though, because of the army that's on the field here, this is definitely A-Game's advantage, even though he's not on 3 base right now. But he just has to use it as all. So probably he'll move out across the field about now. Yep. Look at that. It's always nice when things like that happen, because then I think, like, yeah, I do actually know what's going on in this game. What I would love to see, though, is Heavy Vehicles 2 getting teched from A-Game right now. Obviously, this is a huge number of AVs, so the value of a tech goes up the more, you know, units you've got that can benefit from that tech. Really nice stutter moving here as well. It just, like, stops this guy who's getting hurt. This one here probably wants to back away too now. Yep, there he goes. And there's a heavy rail here, but you gotta wonder, like, how much damage can this heavy rail actually put out before the AVs get to the main base? And so descara, really, he already needs to be moving, but he's not. He's definitely being a bit slow with this. Okay, he's moving now, but I think it might be too late. He may lose a PC off the back of this. At any rate, one rail getting insta-jibbed. Not gibbed, but jibbed. And this little backstab here, too, is doing quite a bit of work as well. And descara sees it, he's like, yeah, there's nothing I can do about this. He chooses to surrender. And that's why that missile battery is so good, because obviously if he had gone for air instead, you know, he's got the answer to it, it's ready. But he just cleans him out. And all of this kind of on the back, I'd say, of quite a poor defense against an AV rush. And it's quite surprising for, like, to see this from descara. That's unusual, but... Well, it killed him. It killed him, alright. So that's going to be the game. And indeed, the series. Going 3-0 to A-Game, so very well done. Small clap to the chat. But that is going to be Semifinals A. So thanks for watching. We'll move on to the next one. But first, I need to get some water.